Buenos dias, coming to you from Madrid, Spain. This is Dolphins in Depth. I am Omar Kelly, Miami Herald columnist. Joining me is Isaiah Smalls, Miami Herald beat reporter. Isaiah, not only have I been here with the Dolphins, getting ready for Madrid, it's going to be a very interesting game from this standpoint. I think this is one of the few games the Dolphins are predicted to actually win this season. Yeah, shock, stunning. Part of it is because Marcus Mariota is going to be starting over Jaden Daniels. Terry McLaurin isn't going to be playing. Deron Payne is suspended.
Yep.
Their offensive line have some injuries. This isn't the Commanders team that made it to the playoffs last year. This is a Commanders team that's on the verge of, I believe, losing 5 straight games. So it'll be interesting to see. The question is, which Dolphins team shows up? Is it the Dolphins team that's lost 4 fourth quarter games, the Dolphins team that got blown out by the Indianapolis Colts and the Cleveland Browns and the Baltimore Ravens, or the Dolphins team that had convincing wins against the Atlanta Falcons when they were hot and the Buffalo Bills when they were trying to regain the AFC East? So I have no idea which team shows up, Isaiah. Which team do you think is going to show up?
I think it's going to be the team that loses in the fourth quarter, except they're going to actually win, right? Because I think that's the one that's closer to the mean, right? As I said on the last podcast, right? They've kind of had two polar opposites. You know, you have the team that gets blown out by the Browns, the team that blows out the Bills, right? Those are two very different extremes, right? And the one that's closer to the middle and the thing that has been consistent is them losing, more so in the fourth quarter, right? But I think obviously with the injuries that the Commanders are facing, like they'll pull this one out. Obviously, it's a great opportunity to expand the Dolphins brand on an international level. I know you've written a little bit about that, but I think the more pressing thing, the thing that everyone wants to know is you had an opportunity to talk with Champ Kelly, right? The interim GM for the Miami Dolphins. The first opportunity, right? I was very pissed when I got that message from you that but then again, I was like, I guess I got the off the record conversation with former general manager Chris Grier. Obviously it's kind of null and void now, but as someone told me, I got to hear his final sermon. But more accurately and more pressingly is the conversation with Champ Kelly. I'm just first, before we kind of dive into that, I'm just curious, what was your initial impression of Mr. Champ Kelly?
You talking about from the press, from the interview, or from we begin? Let's begin with Champ Kelly. When he was initially hired, I was basically in my mind thinking to myself, like, what loser takes this job coming here in this situation? Like you didn't have any other offers. That's where my mind was.
Mm-hmm.
Then I found it a little bit unique that I never saw him and Chris Grier together. Never saw them around. Never saw them talking. They'd literally be in the same venue and act like strangers. They didn't know each other. Mm-hmm. So then I started to wonder, who hired this man? Mm-hmm. Like, where did he come from? What, I never in my mind, and you know this, thought that he would be handed the job. I didn't even think Chris Grier was going to be fired during the season. I thought Steve Ross would ride it out till the end of the season and then whack everybody. Yeah. But what I'm learning, or what I'm concluding, and I don't think he said this directly, but I asked a very specific question. Who hired you? Like, where did you come from? Where, were you sent here as a mole, or were you hired to be a mole within the organization? And, and he basically said he never took this job with the intentions of replacing Chris Grier, or even the thought of him ending up being the interim GM. It just so happened that he had interim GM experience, and coincidentally, he got the position as interim GM with the Las Vegas Raiders and with the Miami Dolphins on the exact same day, Halloween. So that's a little, that's a little bit, little quinkety there. I think his analytic background is what attracted him to Steve Ross. Knowing Steve has an obsession with analytics and sports science, because that's the new wave of where the NFL is going. If you listen to me, it's more of the accountants and lawyers and computer science guys trying to continuously run NFL programs, as opposed to people who have actually played the game. But that's null and void. That's a different point. But Champ Kelly has actually played the game. Cornerback at Kentucky. And one of the things that he said to me, which absolutely stands out, is based on his cornerback experience, what he's always been taught is if you're even, they're leaving. And that's where his mind goes all the time in terms of the analytics side of things. Now, I didn't have the opportunity to have a conversation with him to gain some analytic viewpoints or thought processes, because and he's got a sports computer science background, so I don't really know if he's a programmer or whatnot. But the Denver Broncos brought him into the fold as a scout, and where he worked his way up NFL circles. And I respect the people who work their way up NFL circles, especially if they have a playing background, because I know those jobs are hard to get, hard to earn, hard to keep. Now he's risen, I wouldn't say fast, but he's risen at an expedited rate, primarily because of the relationships. Talking to him, I could see why he's a good salesman. He's relatable. He can make you feel like we are one of a kind. And I think those people are very special people. Now the question is, how well can he build a franchise? How good can he do at drafting players? How good of a talent evaluator is he? What's going to happen with the staff? And obviously I'm getting ahead of myself, because literally he said, I am hired for 8 games. And I am been given the opportunity and the ability to do whatever I want to do for these 8 games. And the mandate is, I want to win. I want to hear the excuses. I want to win. And props to Steve Ross, because at this point I'd be fed up as hell too. I get it. We lost Tyreek Hill. We lost offensive line, but there's no excuses for a lot of things that have happened so far in this season.
No, that's very real. Like a lot of the fourth quarter losses, a lot of some of the blowouts, it just seemed like either the team was unprepared or they weren't there mentally, or it just was bad. But keep going. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. So a major point of interest was how did he handle the trades? How did he handle? And one thing that he said, which I found very interesting, is that what they did before they began the discussions with teams is they put a draft pick value on every single player on the team. And they listened to every single offer. And if you match their value on that they had placed on the player was moved. The only player that the value was matched was Jalen Phillips. So therefore, we can assume that I have a hard time believing a lot of people, maybe Devon Achane and Jalen Waddle, had higher value on the team than Jalen Phillips. I'm not even sure Minkah Fitzpatrick can draw a 3rd round pick at this point. So ultimately, everything that they had given significant value, or even the things that they had given less value to, because I'm sure if you want Keon Smith, you could have had him. If you gave them a third day pick.
Remember, they was blowing up Chris Grier's phone for Keon Smith, man. They was beating that door down for him, man.
You got jokes.
This is a direct quote. I can go pull that out of the Miami Dolphins database, man. That was a direct quote. That was beating his door down for Keon Smith.
Offensive linemen are hard to find. We've all learned this lesson in the NFL.
Very true.
So I'm not saying Chris Grier ain't never been a liar. That's the one thing I'll say. He ain't never been a liar. So the fact that they got Jalen Phillips, so this wasn't a wholesale, let's sell everything. And I never got that impression, even though I'd be just like, scrap it, just let's start over. But I'm not giving Jalen Waddle away for a 2007 first round pick. Like, what are we doing here? 2027 first round pick.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Ooh. You got ghosts in there? You got ghosts, man? Some ghosts and some colonizers up in that piece? Good Lord almighty. They're not happy to see you there. They was not expecting to see you.
So it's an interesting he talked about scouting and evaluating is what he brings to the table. He talked about the fact that he had fresh eyes, which gave him in a unique position to look and evaluate this team. I found that very interesting because, I've always wondered why him and not Marvin Allen, who is the assistant GM. Marvin Allen's got great relationships around the league. I never got that answer. I'm not necessarily looking for that answer at this present moment because I understand what time it is. Yeah. I think they wanted somebody with fresh eyes to be able to look at this team and this roster and give an objective, unbiased evaluation. And that's really what he's been put in charge of doing. He says he's not been given any limitations on things that he can do and achieve, but realistically, how much can you do in 8 weeks, primarily when the trade deadline has already passed?
Yes, that was my next question to you. Like, what is his philosophy, I guess, going forward? Because you can say, like, yeah, I want to win, but there's very few things that you can do to help this team win, post-trade deadline. Like, unless, someone is cut, right? And you can try to claim them off waivers quickly, but it just seems like not that it's just a lot of bluster right now, but it just seems like what exactly can he do over the next 8 games to influence his team's winning?
You know what I think it's he says it's more about relationships, and it's about creating a culture is mainly about your relationships and knowing who you are and sort of getting that across to everybody. And he's a competitor. And he wants to strive for excellence, as all GMs say. But one thing that stood out to me is that he's like, everyone's under evaluation at this point, myself included. Then he said, this is a unique situation I'm in as an interim GM because I can truly go to a player and say, bro, we're in the same spot. I'm going out there to win. You need to be going out there to win because our futures matter. And that's true. That's truthfully the truth. Everybody. Everybody in this organization. If I'm Steve Ross, everybody in this organization, you're harm's way.
I think what I'm starting to glean from you is that he brings a level of urgency, maybe, that this team didn't necessarily have, right, under Chris Grier.
I don't know if that's fair because every player in this team knew things didn't go well. Everybody was going to be fired. So why would they not have urgency? Maybe you're right. Maybe you need to be seen. You need to be given a body.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm saying. Like once you realize that, like, it's kind of like war in a sense. We're like, okay, we're there, we're fighting, right? But once the guy next to you actually gets killed, and you're like, oh, like this is actually real, then I think that just inherently increases the level of urgency, if that makes sense, right? Because you know that like there's actual consequences. You said it yourself, like. Under the Mike McDaniel regime, in the Mike McDaniel era, very few players have gotten cut, right? Yeah. And so once a body drops and it kind of makes everything real, it's like, oh, okay, like I don't want to be the next guy going. And so I think, Champ Kelly can address players in that sense, right? Like, look, like our futures are kind of interconnected. You win if I win, right? Yeah. Or so it's
I win if you win.
I win if you win. That's actually more accurate description of it. Okay, that's interesting. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Any other tidbits, any other bits and pieces of knowledge that you picked up about him over the one quick aside, just how long was the conversation? I'm curious about the length of time that you guys.
About 25 minutes.
Okay. So nothing too crazy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, nothing too crazy. I mean, but literally we stopped it mainly because practice was going on and we need to see what was happening. But it was still a great conversation. I learned how he got the name Champ. His mother had a challenging pregnancy. He was having a challenging birth coming into the world. And, basically, I forget what the exact quote he was, but he's like, the doctor said, we made it, Champ. We made it, Champ. And, and his mother.
That's for being your story.
I know. I know. No, but that's a personality profile thing. His mother basically called him that for a week before he got his name, which is Andrew. It's an A. I forget. It's an A word. So the question is how does it connect to this team? I think they're in a survival mode. I think they've got to do well, perform in order to survive. And Champ is right in the boat with them. I mean, there are a lot of people who think that he could be named the GM for the 2026 season, and we could play it back with Mike McDaniel and Tua, and I am not of the opinion that that's healthy.
Okay, I was going to ask, what's your take on that situation? Because I feel like after the Bills game, right? Like, and I said this on the last podcast, after the Bills game, like, you can tell the entire tide of the franchise that's changed from a fan's perspective, right? It's like, oh my God, we beat the Bills. It's almost as if the Bills game was their Super Bowl, right? And I'm like, okay, there's levels to this, right? Like, we're still 3-7, right? We're now, to me, this is, the story I'm going to get into a little bit later. Like, to me, this is a similar circumstance as to what happened against the Ravens, right? Like, you blow out a team, now you're in an adverse circumstance, obviously short week, and then now traveling across the seas. How are you going to respond, right? And so I'm trying to make that comparison, but it just, I'm curious how you feel about that.
To me, you know how I feel about this organization. There is cancer here. You gotta chemo it. Or as ultimately the cancer is going to spread through the body again. You don't chemo it.
Yeah,
that's not a direct view of how I feel about Mike or Tua or Anthony Weaver or the cafeteria lady or the janitor. Like, I'm sorry, but there's something wrong here. There's something wrong here that continues to create a toxic culture. Maybe it's you, Steve Ross. I don't know. But to me, I'm not even considering Champ, Mike staying unless we go 5-2 in this stretch. It's not even a consideration to me, because even 5-2 gets you to 8-9.
But that's status quo.
That's status quo. But I mean, we're past the whole status quo won't do thing. He's already giving you a body for that. So we're not, that's not necessary. He already gave you a body, Now, the fact that he wants to shoot a 8-foot jumper instead of a 16-foot jumper in terms of like rebuilding the whole organization, he just want to take the gimme, or maybe leaning that direction. I think that's determined based on how they finish, and that's what he's doing. He's giving everybody an opportunity. You want to save your job? You want to save the situation here? Give me show me the results.
I hear you. But to continue that analogy, them 8-foot jumpers are kind of a lost art in today's NBA, right? It's like SGA, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and no one else, right? It's all about threes and dunks and layups. So I'm just, I'm not trying to give my opinion either way. I'm just trying to say that like that 8-foot jumper is phased out of the game mostly. So, interesting.
It's the whole, I get it. You got to give people a carrot to strive for.
Of course.
So I don't care about whatever people want to say Steve Ross is saying or doing. Ultimately, I believe that Steve Ross will do whatever it needed to do to win back his fan base, because they're gone. Even though I see a lot of fans here in Madrid, there are a ton of fans, and Washington fans too. Ton of fans here in Madrid. I just think this fan base is fed up. And ultimately, the biggest issue to me is I think the Dolphins have drafted poorly over the years. And that's there's no way that they can even argue that against me. They can't even. They've got no footing or ground to stand on regarding that. Yeah. And that's problem number one. But there's no guarantee that Champ Kelly can drive better. We don't even have any drive history. But The other things that he said is he was asked his relationship with Mike, and they come from the Shanahan tree together. His first scouting opportunity came under Mike Shanahan. He said they knew each other in passing and have known of each other and had communicated, but they're just getting to know one another. He likes Mike's ability to communicate. He likes the fact that he's an innovator. He likes the fact that he's a guru. And then on Tua, he basically said that Tua's an excellent processor, is good at analyzing the game pre-snap. What he likes about him is that he's learned that he's absolutely obsessed with family and his religion and creating healthy relationships, and that's helped him become a better leader this season. And I agree. And I've in fact written about Tua's leadership journey, because most people don't even realize this was a guy who in his third season basically told the team, yeah, guys, don't vote me as captain, which blew most of our minds. 2021, he told the team, yeah, you don't need to vote me as captain. I'm good. Don't bother.
Why is that? And wait, and that was his third season? I thought he
2000. No, that was his second season. My bad.
So second season, he told them don't. Why is that? I'm curious why you said that.
There are a lot of theories. My theory is that he didn't. Captains have to be in leadership meetings with Brian Flores, and I don't think he wanted to spend any more time with Brian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but outside, he's like, from how it was relayed to me, he's like, I am the quarterback of this team. Clearly, I'm a leader. I don't need to be a captain.
Interesting.
But then the next year, it was like a big deal for him to become a captain. He's been a 4-year captain now. Yeah. But as we all know, Tua is a very unique personality, and I think it's and that's one thing that Frank Smith said this week, and Jalen Waddle said this week. He had to learn how to be a captain in his own way, and it was very challenging for him to follow Ryan Fitzpatrick, especially when the team was stolen from Ryan Fitzpatrick and handed to him.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge in itself. He probably didn't want to deal with a lot of that. Oh, you're not Fitz. You're not doing this thing. And Fitz is a very charismatic guy, so everybody gravitated to him. Yeah. But Tua has his own unique, you see Tua in the locker room. Everybody likes Tua. Everybody
people rock with him, for sure.
People rock with him. They he's Oos. I don't know where that name came from, but that's what they call him. I don't get it, by the way. I keep trying to.
It's cultural. Is it? I thought so. Yeah, I thought it's definitely cultural. It's definitely cultural.
I got to get to the bottom of that, because I now I'm curious.
It's definitely cultural. Definitely cultural. Hold on. Let's do a quick little Google. As a non-Samoan, is a disrespect. Us is a slang word from the word uso. Well, it does mean brother. It's also a gender-based word. Yeah. So it's like it's Samoan.
It's like slang. Brother. It's like a Samoan.
It's like the word that we use to call each other brother. That is not. Maybe not us specifically. But I'm saying it's similar.
Yeah, because he calls himself brother. He says everything brother. Yeah. So it's brother, like, okay, so they call him. Oh, okay. Look at you bringing me some knowledge. Look at you.
That's why I have the culture title in my job, man. That's why I have it.
Oh man, I didn't even know that.
You didn't know a lot of things, because apparently you did not know that American football is called American football over there, and football is soccer over there. I
know football is soccer over here. Okay. I know football. That's not the point that I was making.
What was the point you were making?
I didn't know that they refer to this. They how I'm thinking. It's football over there. Yeah. Like we got soccer and we got football. Yeah. And I know they didn't call soccer football over here.
Yes.
But I didn't know that they call it American football. Like it's like, that thing over there, American football.
What did you think they called it?
Football?
But there's already a football.
I get that now. But now, there's German football too. There's Canadian football. There's
German football?
Oh yeah. Tua's brother played in the German league.
I did, but I thought it was relatively similar.
Bro, I don't know.
Yeah.
like like I just got an education on Champions League and
Oh yeah, it's a good
and
little
all the other leagues that they have, the
yeah.
European leagues
The
and
La Liga,
La Liga. Yeah. Oh yeah,
yeah.
we in La Liga over here.
Yeah, this
It's
is
like a
definitely
turf
big La
war over
Liga
here.
Territory for
You
sure.
you either with Atletico Madrid
Atletico or Real, yeah.
or Real Madrid.
Yeah, of
Like
course.
you ain't playing for both teams.
No. That's like being like a Duke and UNC fan or being like a Yankees and Red Sox fan. It's definitely up there when it comes to the rivalries.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah, like they don't mess with each other.
No,
Like
they do
nah.
not. They do not.
And
For sure.
it's very interesting to see that Miami, the two soccer franchises,
Mhm.
have sort of adopted the franchises that are working in their facilities. So the Real Madrid fans are Washington Commander fans,
Wow.
and the Atletico Madrid fans
Yeah.
are Miami Dolphin fans. It's like it's crazy
Wow.
over here.
I'm curious because now I didn't realize that, didn't put two and two together, that if the Dolphins were practicing at a Atletico spot, that the Commanders are practicing at Real spot. Do you think that gives them a competitive advantage? I'm curious. Before we get
No, they're
to
not practicing in the stadium. Apparently, Rio has a practice facility that they're using, while the Dolphins are using Atletico's stadium. But apparently, Atletico Stadium is pimped out to the point where the Dolphins like have everything that they would have at their own facility. Hot tub, cold tub, steam rooms.
Yeah.
You know, it's plush. So, but they took a tour of Real Madrid Stadium today, but there's all kinds of like tradition, and it's like they're like the Yankees around here. They like the big dogs.
Oh,
like
100%.
Even bigger than Barcelona.
I think it's about like the same. I think that's also a similar rivalry from what my understanding of soccer, similar rivalry. I wouldn't be able to tell you like if we're stacking up Champions League trophies or La Liga trophies. I couldn't tell you who has more. But they're definitely on the same level, specifically right now, for sure.
And I didn't even know y'all. They don't even have no playoffs. Who win the season is who win the season.
Yeah.
They're like, look at us at playoffs. Like,
yeah,
what y'all doing? Didn't y'all just play?
But it's an interesting model though, because when it gets towards the end of the season, right, and you're looking at the points scores, right, the games start to mean more. So it does take on that playoff atmosphere. Like I'm a Liverpool fan, right? So I'm a big Premier League watcher, right? So towards the end of the season, it definitely gives that playoff atmosphere, and I think that's the difference between soccer, football, and American football in general, right? Like any game when it gets down to the final moments, right, and it's 1-1 or 0-0, right, especially if it's a tied game, right, like it's going to feel that way. But the Champions League is essentially like a playoff. It's like a super playoffs, right? It's basically
everybody's best.
Yeah, everybody's like bringing in like the Canadian.
It's like the real champion of the world.
Yeah, that's the real champion of the world.
The Super Bowl champion, who's just a fake champion.
That's real. 100%. Yeah. 100%.
If we played the CFL champion and the German League champion, then maybe we could call us the real world.
I'm pretty sure they wouldn't want that smoke. Like the NFL is the gold standard for the reason. Before we get into predictions, we're talking a lot about Madrid and stuff. I just want to know what's been your one takeaway from the international experience. Just something that doesn't necessarily have to do with football, because I'm just curious how you just have enjoyed the international experience. I know the travel situation wasn't the best getting there. Hopefully,
travel's fine.
Okay.
I am learning that everybody's Spanish is not the right Spanish. It's not proper Spanish. Some of it's gutter Spanish. Some of it's kind of like some of it's like where Haitians speak Creole and there's there's French, like just like the English language. The British, they speak the Queen's English. We speak the gutter English. And the way they operate in Spain, there are people who speak Spanish who don't really understand the people speaking Spanish in Spain, which is like a mind-blowing concept to me. But I'm sure. But it's just like somebody who's speaking in a thick Boston accent or a thick British accent. you're not going to get everything. So that has been a very eye-opening experience, just learning that everybody's Spanish is different. Like I'm learning Cuban Spanish is different than Puerto Rican Spanish, and Puerto Rican Spanish is different than Dominican Spanish, and like Argentinian Spanish is different.
I'm just surprised that you had to go to Spain to know that, knowing that we live in Miami, and I've started to realize, okay, Cuban Spanish is very different than, you know what I'm saying? Because Cubans have their words that, you know.
And that's what I'm realizing. Every culture has their very different, unique words and terms and things that they say. So it's like, it's just eye-opening for me.
That's amazing. That's beautiful. So, shout out traveling, man. All right, let's get into some predictions. What you got?
I am going to make the mistake of predicting the Dolphins to win this game, 28-24. And the reason I say it's a mistake, because anytime I predict them to lose, they kind of, show out. They be like, all right, okay. I do believe in what Mike McDaniel was selling, which is that they had found a formula that worked against the Falcons, because clearly that was a completely different performance. We don't even recognize that team. And then they didn't have a way to replicate it against the Baltimore Ravens in that Thursday week practice, and then they look like the regular Dolphins we see all season. And then they turned it back on against the Buffalo Bills when they had a full week of preparation. So I'm buying into that they know how to play right now. I'm curious about how Chop Robinson will perform. Chop Robinson's only made one NFL start in his career.
I guess so. Dang, because I guess he wasn't starting for real last year. They were using him as a kind of like a gadget guy, a little
situational pass rusher, mainly because of his concern stopping the edge, setting the edge.
We're gonna see if he can set the edge for sure. We're
gonna see. We definitely gonna see. So there are interesting storylines. Aaron Brewer is not healthy, but he's gonna play. What's Juju Brent's gonna be?
And then give me a quick update on Chubb, because I saw that he got hurt in practice today, and foot obviously is a big issue.
Yeah, foot is a big issue. I don't know how serious it was. I really don't know how hard they worked today. So, but I think he had like a foot earlier in the season, and you know how in the NFL things flare up from time to time, especially if you don't give it the right kind of treatment. So that might be where we are. But as you know, the Dolphins can't afford to lose any more pass rushers. I mean, the Chubb situation might force you to go into the game with probably two elevations from the edge rusher standpoint, especially if you don't need a safety or a cornerback. So we'll see how that plays out. What are you predicting?
I'm going 27-10 Dolphins. I don't think the Commanders have enough, and I guess I'll sip the Kool-Aid a little bit as well. That they might have found a formula. Look, man, when I was digging through the stats of last week, man, the Dolphins pressured Josh Allen more than any other team that the Bills had faced prior to that Week 10 matchup, right? So they're getting to the quarterback now a little bit better. They've stopped the run. They have a good running back in James Cook that was stopped. And I'm not trying to play the transitive law of football. I know that doesn't exist, but just some of the things that they did, I think, can be replicated against a team like the Commanders. And, they don't have the added, I guess, benefit of having a mobile quarterback, right? Marcus Mariota, those days.
Marcus Mariota's mobile. He is mobile.
Well, those days are long behind him, right? He's been in the league for a decade, man. There's a reason why he's a career backup now.
I didn't say he was good. I just said he can run. I
don't think he's got that much left in his tank personally. So I'm predicting a little bit of a lopsided victory for the Dolphins. Hopefully they'll be able to pull it out. Expose the international audience to Dolphins football at its best. Hopefully it works out.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts?
It's a neutral field, so I'm excited to see. I've always enjoyed how the crowd, they do their little soccer chants, and it's very unique. It's very unique. So half the time they don't know what's going on in the game. They just out there cheering and doing their little thing and banging their little drums. So I'm interested to see that. On that note, we are out. Dolphins in depth. We will be back on Monday or maybe after the game, considering
Yeah,
situation.
it will be early. It will be early. Like we might as well. Let's just do it right after the game. Let's do it. Let's break them
I
down.
might have some reporting to do and some writing to do, but yeah, it will be early.
It will be
But
early.
we will be back Monday we might be back Sunday to recap what happened here in the Madrid game. On that note, Dolphins in depth. We are out.